You ignored her, you backed off, maybe you even went silent, thinking it would spark her curiosity, that she'd miss you, that she'd come running. But nothing happened. She didn't chase, she didn't even flinch. And now you're sitting there wondering, did I do something wrong? Wasn't pulling back supposed to make her want me more? Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Silence means nothing if you're still screaming for her validation in your heart. You see, ignoring her isn't a tactic. It's not a trick. It's not a move you play hoping to trigger her feelings. If your silence is just manipulation in disguise, she'll feel it. Because women, especially high-value women, can sense the difference between a man who's grounded in peace and a man who's just pretending to be. And this is where Stoicism comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. If you want to be pursued, if you want to be respected, if you want to be remembered, you have to become that kind of man, not act like him for a few days and hope she notices." Stoicism teaches us to detach, not to manipulate, but to return to our center, to master ourselves, not for attention, but for peace, because the real flex isn't pulling away and waiting to be chased. It's pulling back so you can realign, so you can focus on your mission, so you can show the world and yourself that you're not defined by who chooses you. You're defined by how deeply you've chosen yourself. So if she's not chasing you, maybe it's because she senses you haven't fully let go. Maybe she sees that you're still watching, still waiting, still needing a reaction. And the Stoic path, it's not about getting her to chase. It's about becoming so complete that you don't need her to. Stick around. We're digging into what it really looks like to be detached without being cold, and how to lead with quiet strength in a noisy world. And hey, if you're on this journey of becoming a grounded, unshakable man, subscribe to Stoic Think. Let's walk this path together. Most guys think detachment means going cold, that they have to act like they don't care, that silence and distance alone will do the work. But here's the thing. Real detachment isn't an act. It's not you sitting there pretending you're fine while secretly checking her stories, hoping she'll text back. Stoicism isn't about playing mind games. It's about freedom. Freedom from needing anyone to validate your worth. Freedom from craving a reaction. Epictetus said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." Her reaction, her feelings, her decision to chase or not, all outside your control. Your mindset, your mission, the energy you carry, all in your hands. When a man is truly detached, he's not bitter, he's not cold, he's not resentful that she didn't chase him. He's focused, centered, calm. His value isn't up for negotiation because he's not measuring it based on who pays him attention. Women notice that. They can tell when your energy is still orbiting around them, even in silence. And they can also tell when you've actually let go, not out of spite, but because you're building something deeper, something stronger, yourself. The Stoic man doesn't ignore to punish. He steps back to protect his peace. He's not playing chess. He's planting roots. And ironically, that's when people do start chasing, when they sense that you've outgrown the need to be pursued. But the irony isn't the point. The point is, you didn't wait around for it. You didn't make her response your scoreboard. You just moved forward. We'll talk about how this mindset plays out in real life, how you carry yourself, speak, work, and walk through the world in a way that commands respect without ever needing to beg for it. If this resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you're subscribed to Stoic Think, because we're not here to fake confidence. We're here to build it from the inside out. Let's talk about how this actually looks in the real world. Because it's one thing to say, be detached. It's another to walk into every room like you have nothing to prove and still own the room with quiet strength. See, a man grounded in Stoic principles doesn't chase anyone, not because he's too proud, but because he knows what he brings to the table. He doesn't need to over-explain himself. He doesn't need to flex. His presence says enough. You ever meet someone who barely speaks, but when they do, everyone listens? That's the kind of energy Stoicism builds. Not loud, not needy, just powerful in stillness. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what happens when you're obsessing over why she isn't texting back or why she hasn't noticed your absence. You build stories, you invent scenarios, and you suffer over things that don't deserve that much of your mental real estate. A Stoic man sees that and shuts it down. He replaces fantasy with focus. Instead of imagining what she's doing, he's out doing his own thing, training, building, learning, resting, evolving, because he knows he is the project, not the woman, not the situation, not the chase. And that's the energy that changes everything. Because the moment you stop performing, stop posturing, stop pulling back just to get a reaction, that's the moment you actually start to rise. Your confidence becomes real. Your presence becomes magnetic. And people, women included, feel that shift. Not because you're trying to be noticed, but because you've become someone worth noticing. We'll get into the practical side. How to build emotional discipline, hold your boundaries without anger, and stay unmoved even when your feelings try to pull you off course. If you're tired of being reactive, if you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming, hit that subscribe button, because this journey, it's not about getting her back. It's about getting you back. Let's get real. There's no such thing as unshakable overnight. Every man gets triggered. Every man feels the pull of ego, of emotion, of wanting to be wanted. But what separates the Stoic man is what he does with that energy. You feel the urge to text her. You feel the heat rising when she watches your story, but doesn't say a word. You feel that itch to prove you're unfazed, to show her what she's missing. But instead of reacting, you observe. You sit with it. You let the emotion rise, and then you let it pass. That's emotional discipline. That's what Marcus Aurelius practiced when he said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke." So, how do you build that kind of calm? First, you slow down. You create space between stimulus and response. That pause, that split second where you decide whether to react or remain rooted, that's where your power lives. Second, you hold your boundaries without hostility. If she's hot and cold, if she pulls you in, then pushes you away, don't match her energy. You don't have to clap back. You just don't play the game. You stay in your lane, focused, grounded, unavailable to chaos. And third, you train your mind like you train your body. You journal, you read, you sit in silence. You learn to love your own company, because a man who's not afraid of being alone is a man who'll never beg for company. Look, ignoring her doesn't work if you're still breaking down inside. Real detachment starts with radical self-respect. You're not cold, you're clear, you're not mean, you're mindful. You're not avoiding love, you're just done chasing shadows. We'll close this out by talking about how Stoic men attract, not by pursuit, but by presence, and why true power lies in the man who's already full before anyone ever chooses him. If this series is speaking to you, don't just watch, apply it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Stoic Think, because this isn't a gimmick. This is a way of life. Here's the truth most men never learn until it's too late. You don't attract by chasing. You don't even attract by ignoring. You attract by becoming. When you're no longer obsessed with how she feels about you. When you stop using silence as a strategy and start using it as sanctuary. When you no longer need to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. That's when everything changes. Because the Stoic man doesn't posture. He doesn't beg. He doesn't need a reaction to feel complete. His presence speaks for itself. It says, I'm whole. I'm grounded. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to live my truth. And that kind of energy, it's rare, it's powerful, it's unforgettable. So if she still won't chase you, let her go. Let her be. Because the man who walks the Stoic path knows this. Love that has to be earned through silence or strategy was never love worth holding on to. You were never meant to spend your life performing for attention. You were meant to build a life so rich with purpose that attention becomes a byproduct, not a goal. So keep walking, not away from her, but towards you. If this message hits something deep, share it with a brother who needs it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Stoic Think. Because this channel isn't about quick tricks or emotional games. It's about helping men rise with clarity, purpose, and power.